At 17, I found myself homeless in winter, shivering in my car. My phone rang. It was Mom. I answered eagerly, hoping they'd let me come home. Instead, she asked if I could send them my last paycheck before they closed my bank account. That night changed everything. I grew up as the forgotten middle child, sandwiched between a star athlete older brother and a beauty pageant princess younger sister. In our home, it wasn't about who you were, but what others thought of you. Mom and Dad were masters of illusion. A gleaming BMW in the driveway, while our refrigerator stood empty, designer clothes while the heating bills went unpaid. Appearances matter more than anything, Jayden, my father would lecture, straightening his knockoff Rolex before heading to another job interview he'd inevitably sabotage with his ego. By 13, I'd already figured out what took my parents decades to miss. True value isn't what you show, it's what you build. While my siblings performed for our parents' conditional love, I retreated to our unfinished basement, salvaging discarded electronics from neighborhood trash. I still remember my father's laughter when he found me hunched over a dismantled computer. "What a waste of time," he sneered, cuffing the back of my head hard enough to make me bite my tongue. I tasted blood, but didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. That night, I fixed that computer and 3 more, making enough to buy groceries when Dad gambled away the food money. By 16, I had a thriving little business repairing laptops and building custom PCs for classmates. My bedroom transformed into a mini tech workshop, circuit boards and tools organized meticulously where posters should have been. The first time my mother noticed the cash I was making, something shifted in her eyes. Not pride, something hungrier. "Family helps family," she said, hand outstretched, taking half my earnings for household contributions. I watched as those contributions funded her salon appointments and Dad's poker nights, but said nothing. The pattern became painfully predictable. Every success I achieved became a resource for them to exploit. When my online reselling business took off, suddenly our family vacations became more frequent. Trips I paid for, but was often left behind from because someone needed to watch the house. My brother once drunkenly confessed, "They don't talk about you on these trips, you know. It's like you don't exist except as an ATM." We got into a shoving match that night that ended with me nursing a split lip and him nursing his guilt with more alcohol. Despite everything, I held on to my dream like a lifeline. I wanted to create software that would change how people connected with each other. An app that would help lonely kids like me find their tribes beyond family. Every night, I'd code until my eyes burned, teaching myself programming languages while my parents entertained guests downstairs with expensive whiskey purchased with my money. "What will the neighbors think?" became the family mantra, but all I could think was, what would the world think of my ideas if I could just break free? My guidance counselor, the only adult who seemed to notice me, helped me apply for tech scholarships in secret. "You've got something special," he told me, the first genuine encouragement I'd ever received. The night I got the acceptance letter with a partial scholarship to the State University's computer science program, I felt hope surge through me like electricity. I made the mistake of sharing this joy with my family at dinner. My father's face darkened as he processed the news. Then he slammed his fist on the table so hard the plates jumped. "Absolutely not! No son of mine is wasting his potential on computer games when you're already making good money. Besides," he added with a calculating look, "we've been counting on your contribution for the new house extension." That night, the battle lines were drawn. I just didn't realize yet that in this war I would ultimately be fighting alone, until I wasn't, and that the family who had taken everything from me had inadvertently given me the one thing I needed most, the desperate hunger to prove them wrong. The scholarship only covered 60% of tuition. I needed the rest from my college fund. money I'd been depositing faithfully since my first repair job at 13. The morning I drove to the bank, I felt lighter than I had in years. Freedom was just a withdrawal slip away, but when the teller's face shifted from professional courtesy to uncomfortable pity, my stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reynolds, but this account was emptied 3 days ago. Your parents had co-signing authority." The room spun as she showed me the withdrawal slip with my father's aggressive signature slashed across the bottom. I drove home in a daze, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. The new 70-inch TV in our living room and my mother's shopping bag scattered across the floor told me everything I needed to know. "You're home early," Mom said, not meeting my eyes as she frantically tried to hide the Nordstrom bags. Dad emerged from the kitchen, a tumbler of expensive scotch in hand, my money in liquid form, evaporating before my eyes. "Where is it?" My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. "My college fund. $17,000. Where is it?" Dad swirled his drink casually. "Family emergency. The roof needed repair." I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "The roof? While Mom shops at Nordstrom and you're drinking $100 scotch?" I grabbed the glass from his hand and hurled it against the wall. The crystal shattered, amber liquid cascading down our freshly painted walls. His reaction was instant. The back of his hand connected with my face so hard I tasted blood. "You ungrateful little shit. Everything you have is because of us." "Everything I have is despite you," I shot back, wiping blood from my lip. "You stole my future." Mom stepped between us, her face a mask of practiced concern, the same face she wore for neighbors and church friends. "Jayden, be reasonable. College is a waste for someone like you. You're already making good money with your little hobby. The family needs that money now." "Family?" I scanned the room, the luxury items, the vacations documented in photos where I was conspicuously absent. When was I ever actually part of this family? My sister watched silently from the stairs, while my brother stared at his shoes. Their silence was another betrayal. Dad's ultimatum came with cold finality. "As long as you live under this roof, your money is family money. Give up this tech fantasy and grow up, or get out." 20 minutes later, I stood in our driveway with a backpack containing my laptop, 2 changes of clothes, and the family photo I kept foolishly believing might someday reflect reality. Mom watched from behind the curtains, but never came out. My brother handed me $400, guilt money, without meeting my eyes. "They'll come around," he mumbled unconvincingly. That first night in my car, parked behind the library, reality set in. I was 17, homeless, and completely alone. The temperature dropped to freezing, my breath forming small clouds in the darkness. When my phone rang with my mother's ringtone, hope surged through me momentarily. Maybe they'd reconsidered. "Jayden," her voice was honey-sweet, the tone she used when asking for favors. "Before we close your bank account, could you transfer your last paycheck to us? The country club membership is due." Something broke inside me that night, but something stronger was forged in its place. I hung up without a word and watched as my phone flooded with increasingly angry texts from both parents. The final one from my father chilled me. "You're dead to this family." What they didn't realize was that in cutting me off, they'd severed the chains that had held me down for years. My tears froze on my cheeks as I made a promise to myself in that frozen car. I would become so successful that when they inevitably came crawling back, I would have the power to cut them off too. But first, I had to survive. Rock bottom has a way of introducing you to parts of yourself you never knew existed. For 3 months, I rotated between sleeping in my car and crashing on the couches of acquaintances who never asked too many questions. I showered at the gym, stored my clothes in my trunk, and worked 2 jobs. morning shifts at a cafe, and night shifts stocking shelves at a local supermarket. Despite everything, I still coded in the precious hours between, huddled in 24-hour diners that took pity on the kid who ordered one coffee and nursed it for 6 hours straight. I discovered my parents had done more than just throw me out. They'd poisoned the well. My cousin let slip that they'd told the entire family I'd stolen from them, that I was unstable and dangerous. No wonder none of my relatives had reached out. I was alone in a war I never asked to fight, outnumbered and outgunned. The turning point came on a Tuesday morning at the cafe. I'd been up for 36 hours straight, putting final touches on a connectivity app I'd been designing. My hands shook as I served coffee to a man in an expensive suit who actually looked me in the eyes when he ordered, a rarity in this upscale neighborhood. "You look like you're about to collapse, kid," he said, his voice surprisingly kind. "Rough night?" Something about his genuine concern broke through my carefully constructed walls. "Rough year," I replied, then immediately regretted the unprofessional candor. Instead of being offended, he asked me to sit for a moment, impossible during the morning rush. "I'll be here a while," he said, pulling out a laptop. "Find me when you get a break." 2 hours later, during my 15-minute break, I found myself telling Michael Breyer, founder of a successful tech incubator, about my app idea. My voice gained strength as I explained the architecture, the user flow, the problem it solved for marginalized communities. He asked sharp questions that challenged my thinking, but never in a way that belittled me. "Where'd you learn to code like this?" he asked, genuinely impressed by the prototype I showed him. "Self-taught," I answered, the shame of my interrupted education still raw. Michael stared at me for a long moment. "I've met Stanford graduates who couldn't architect a solution this elegant." He handed me his card with a handwritten address on the back. "Come to this address tomorrow morning. I want you to meet my team." I almost didn't go. Trust had become a luxury I couldn't afford. But desperation and a flicker of hope drove me to the address, a converted warehouse that housed Breyer's tech incubator. 6 hours, and the most intensive technical interview of my life later, Michael offered me a desk, a small stipend, and something infinitely more valuable: belief in my vision. "We're not fully funding you yet," he cautioned, "but we're giving you runway to prove your concept." Those next 8 months nearly killed me. I worked nights at the supermarket and spent days at the incubator. I slept 4 hours a night, lived on ramen and determination, and poured everything I had into my app. The first version crashed spectacularly during a demo. The second had security holes big enough to drive a truck through. But the third version connected 10,000 users in its first week. When the first angel investment came through, $250,000 for 20% equity. I finally quit my night job and rented a tiny studio apartment. The first night I slept on a real bed, I wept with exhaustion and relief. But I didn't slow down. If anything, having a safe place to sleep made me work harder. The breakthrough came when a major tech influencer featured my app in his column. Overnight, our user base exploded from 50,000 to 500,000. Server costs nearly bankrupted me, but Michael connected me with the right infrastructure partners. 3 months later, with 3 million active users, a venture capital firm offered $8 million for 30% of my company. In the meeting where they handed me the term sheet, one investor leaned forward. "What made you think of this? Most 20-somethings build dating apps or food delivery services." I thought about the lonely kid in the basement, desperate for connection. I built what I needed when no one else was building it. The day I signed the papers, making me a millionaire on paper at 19 years old, I didn't call my family. Instead, I called my high school guidance counselor and anonymously paid off his mortgage. He had seen potential in me when my own blood couldn't, or wouldn't. That night, as I stood on the balcony of my new apartment overlooking the city, I realized the family that had thrown me away had inadvertently thrown me directly into the path of my destiny. Success escalates faster than anyone tells you. 18 months after that first major investment, my company valuation hit 100 million. My face appeared on the cover of tech magazines with headlines like, "The Wunderkind Changing How We Connect." I moved into a penthouse, hired a team of 50 brilliant minds who believed in our mission, and finally bought clothes that actually fit me. But no matter how far I climbed, the shadow of abandonment followed me like a faithful dog. The text came on a random Tuesday. "Jayden, it's Mom. We saw you in Forbes. So proud of our boy. Let's reconnect." No apology. No acknowledgement of the 2 years of silence. Just the assumption that my success made me worth speaking to again. I didn't respond, but the messages kept coming. From my father, "Son, we should talk business opportunities." From my sister, "OMG, can't believe my brother's famous now." From my brother, slightly more sincere, "They were wrong about you. We all were." I blocked their numbers but underestimated their determination. Social media messages, emails to my company address, even letters to my office. Each one speaking as if the abandonment had been a minor misunderstanding rather than the defining trauma of my young adult life. The morning my parents showed up unannounced at my company headquarters, I was in the middle of finalizing a major acquisition. My assistant's voice trembled as she called, "Mr. Reynolds, your parents are in reception. They're making quite a scene." The elevator ride down was the longest 18 seconds of my life. My hands shook as memories flooded back. The slap, the stolen college fund, the freezing nights in my car. When the doors opened, I saw them immediately. Mom looked exactly the same. Designer clothes, perfectly coiffed hair. But Dad had aged a decade in 2 years. The bags under his eyes told stories of financial hardship his proud posture tried to hide. "Jayden!" Mom rushed forward as if to embrace me. I stepped back, maintaining professional distance. "You need an appointment to see me," I stated flatly. The reception area had gone silent, my employees witnessing the family drama unfold in real time. Dad stepped forward, hand extended as if we were business associates. "Son, you've done extraordinarily well for yourself. We always knew you would." The audacity nearly knocked the wind from me. "Really? Is that why you stole my college fund? Why you told the family I was dangerous and unstable? Why you left me homeless at 17? Mom's voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "Don't make a scene, Jayden. We're still your parents." "Biology doesn't make a family," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Actions do." Dad's face darkened. That familiar storm gathering. "We sacrificed everything for you. We deserve—" "You deserve nothing," I cut him off, surprised by my own calm. "And that's exactly what you'll get from me." Dad lunged forward then, grabbing my expensive suit jacket. "You ungrateful little—" Security appeared instantly, restraining him as he shouted about blood and family obligations. I straightened my jacket and looked him directly in the eyes. "The last time you put your hands on me, I was a child who couldn't fight back. Try it again, and I'll have you arrested for assault." Something in my voice, the absolute certainty perhaps, made him go still. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my father's eyes. Not of what he'd lose, but of who I'd become. Someone beyond his control. Mom tried a different approach, tears welling in her carefully made-up eyes. "We've fallen on hard times, Jayden. The house is in foreclosure. Your father's business failed. We're family. We need your help." 2 years ago, those tears would have weakened my resolve. Now I saw them for what they were. Weapons in her emotional arsenal. "I'm not giving you money," I said firmly, "but I am giving you something more valuable." "What's that?" Dad sneered. Freedom. Freedom from any obligation to me and freedom from any expectation of my help. I'm cutting you off completely, just like you did to me. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. But unlike you, I'm giving you something to take with you. Forgiveness. Not because you deserve it, but because carrying this hatred exhausts me. I'm letting go of the anger, the hurt, and most importantly, of you. The stunned silence that followed was broken only when I instructed security to escort them out. As they were led away, my father hurled one last desperate attack. "You'd be nothing without us." I watched them go, a strange peace settling over me. "No," I whispered to myself. "I became something despite you." That night, I established a foundation for homeless youth with an emphasis on entrepreneurship training. The first shelter opened in my hometown, a direct challenge to the carefully maintained illusion of prosperity my parents had cultivated in their social circle. Everyone would know their son was funding housing for the type of person they had turned him into. True revenge wasn't about hurting them back, it was about thriving so completely that their absence became irrelevant to my story. 5 years later, my company went public. I now fund scholarships for kids from troubled homes who show technical promise. One of my first scholars reminds me eerily of myself. Brilliant, driven, wounded by those who should have protected him. The day he launched his first successful app, his eyes filled with the same vindicated fire that once fueled me. "How do you deal with it?" he asked me. "Knowing the people who threw you away can see what they lost." I considered the question carefully. Success isn't about proving your worth to those who couldn't see it. It's about proving it to yourself, then helping others do the same. I smiled at him. The greatest revenge isn't cutting someone off. It's becoming so completely yourself that their opinion becomes irrelevant to your happiness. I still drive by my parents' house sometimes. They still live in the same neighborhood, though in a much smaller home now. I never stop, never knock. But I no longer feel that crushing weight of abandonment. They gave me the greatest gift possible. They set me free. And in cutting me off, they taught me how to cut off the dead weight that would have kept me ordinary, including them.